Alrighty, guys. Congratulations. Y'all made it for another episode. Man, I see we got 4 people already. We're gonna wait till a few people get in and we're gonna start with the introductions. Let's go ahead and break a record. Let's get 60 people watching us today. Let's go. No, I think we had 70 before. We had 76 before. So let's get to
A
80.
million, a million people.
Let's get to
Yes,
80.
I'm down with that.
All right. So congratulations, guys. Y'all watching us again. This is the Power of Ownership Podcast. We here with the superstar panel. Let's go ahead and start with the introductions. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce myself first, and then I'll go ahead with my guests. My name is Brandon B. Dixon. My NMLS is 1541210. Don't forget it's at Billionaire Loan Officer on all social media. That's including the YouTube. Please like, please subscribe, please tell a friend and tell a friend if you like the content. If you need to book me for a consultation or you want to apply for a mortgage, go to my website, www.applywithb.com. Also, my phone number, 832-775-8357. You call me 24/7. As long as it's about business, I will answer the phone. www.brandonbdixon.com. This is my real estate site. If you want to book me for a listing or you want to lease, www.brandonbdixon.com. I just recently joined Accent Realty. So I'm next all the way. So congratulations. I'm happy about that. Last but not least, don't forget WeLoveFrenchies.com. This is my other venture as well. I deal with French Bulldogs. I'm an exotic French Bulldog breeder. So that website is going to be launching here in 2026. I'm doing the finishing touches on it right now. So Dunbar, I got you queued up. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let's go ahead and get started.
All right. Happy Monday. I am Brandon Dunbar. You can Google me at Brandon Dunbar Realtor to see all of my reviews and my stats, and see how I work for my clients. I would consider myself one of the better realtors here in the Texas area. You can cue the next one, Dixon. Uh, my website is dunbardidit.com. Check that out. You can book a one-on-one consultation with me there. You can also see, more reviews there, and kind of get a feeling of who I am. And
I think
then
that's it.
that's it for me. Let's make it happen.
Gotcha. And then also we got David Youngs as well.
Yes, so I'm a branch manager, mortgage advisor with Nexa Mortgage and the Infinite Team, now Nexa Lending. My NMLS 328679 OG, January 2010 when they first came out. Was there more? There was supposed to be more.
As you look, when I click on it, is a 10-second timer that goes off.
That's my application link if you'd like to apply with me, though I would encourage, please don't apply with me right away. Schedule a consultation. Let's have a conversation before you apply. Go to the next one if you would. That's my website. You can find a lot of good information on here, calculators, testimonials, videos, learn more about me and my family. Go to the next one if you would. And at David R. Youngs, that's my handle for most of my profiles, but you might find it also at Infinite Home Team is another one. One more. And if you really want to just get access to all of this in one shot, just go to this one site and all of it will be linked there. You can actually click it and download it right to your phone and you'll have all of that information in one shot.
Gotcha. All right. So cool. So we got all the introductions. We got about 5 people watching us, 2 on YouTube, 3 on X, my X. So please, if you comment, we will read it live. If you got any questions that you want to have read live, we will answer them live. Please like the video and please comment. That helps us with the algorithm. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the first clip because we're running a little bit behind.
We want to just preface for the audience that we're watching clips and we're going to talk about the clips. And we're going to comment on how this affects the industry, right?
Somewhat. We're gonna just give our natural reaction. So some of them, let's just get the natural reaction. So let's go ahead with the first one here. Let's get it going. And here we go.
Brands are using AI to promote their products, and people are sick and tired of hearing codes being pushed left and right. And let's not forget, they're also sick of seeing your perfectly curated highlight reel of a life. No one's buying your shit because not only are they having a hard time resonating with you, you're also not giving them a reason to care. In this day and age of modern technology, people are not looking for the next Beyonce to follow. They're looking for connection, a place where they feel like they belong. This is why we're seeing a rise in run clubs, in-person retreats, and online communities. I actually came across this business brand called Roll Boys on Instagram. They sell cinnamon rolls, okay? But what makes their business and their brand stand out is the story behind it. They grew their account sharing everything behind the scenes on how the owner decided to build this business he knows nothing about, showing all his mistakes, his failures, all the bad days, the good times too. And this built a connection with their audience, rooting for them to actually be successful. And this right here explains why they have a line of people out the door before they even open, frothing at their mouths for just a cinnamon roll. You can get cinnamon rolls anywhere, but people choose Roll Boys because of their story, because of the community and the movement that they built. This is a good example of good branding. If you want to build a brand that stands the test of time, start building your community. Share insights on why you decided to build your personal brand. What's your compelling message? What's your contrarian belief? What gap are you filling in your industry right now? Give people a reason to rally behind you. People's attention spans are short, but what makes them stop scrolling is a compelling story that humanizes you and the movement that you're building. The influencer era is dying. Brands are using.
Gotcha. And that was a loop, so it's going back to the beginning. So I want to do the honors and roll back to me, and I do the third leg, or you want me to go first? How y'all want to go ahead and proceed?
David, I mean, either me or you go first. You can pick.
Well, I like the fact that, I mean, she makes a very good point that you can get a cinnamon roll anywhere.
Right.
This is not something special, but they made it special. And I think that's the gap that all of us have in business, right? Is how do you take something like mortgages or real estate and turn this into something that people can relate to, that they actually enjoy the experience, the process, the story behind it, and they want to work with you because of that story. And I think mastering that, understanding who you are, what you do, your origin story, all these things, a lot of this really helps. It makes a difference in why people choose to work with you, because even if you are the best, and I'd like to argue we are the best, but even if you're not the best, people care more about the story than they do anything else. People like to say they're not emotional. They're rational. They use their logical part of their brain, and that's it. But we all know it doesn't matter who you are. We all end up buying emotionally in the end. So I think they're onto something here. It's a really good way of explaining how they're marketing this thing.
Right. I'll go ahead, since let's go. I like to go clockwise. So I'll go ahead and take the second anchor on this. My mentor, Mattress Mac, always used to say, stories sell and facts fade. If you want to be a great salesperson and you want to be a great marketer, you have to tell a story. And that's what people are gravitating towards now, because now, even more than ever, you're overwhelmed with choices. So people gravitate to people who they relate to, or who's something that you gave them: entertainment, hope, motivation. You have to give them something. You have to give your audience something, and then that's what hooks them. So, and that's what I'm trying to do with the podcast, and that's what I've done with the podcast for almost 9 years. Like, people stop me and they want to do business with me because loans are commodities. You can get a loan from anybody. But they want to deal with my personality. They want to see me win, and they want something that I have. They want to be part of something, and so that's why, right? And that's why
it's weird. They want that,
right? The trademark. But it could be anything. People relate to whoever they relate to, but you got to display it, and I think that's the difference between marketing 50 years ago and marketing now. Marketing 50 years ago, it was limited. It was in proximity. All right, I dealt with this guy because it's in my neighborhood, and I can't travel anywhere, and I don't know anything else. So that's gone. I have a plethora of choices. I'm overwhelmed with choices. How do I decide? Like you alluded to earlier, now if all things even, people are going to go towards the people that they feel more comfortable with. If everything's even, all right, this guy's good, this guy's good. Who'd I go with? I'm gonna go with who makes me feel more comfortable, who I want to be a part of. So that's what this displays with content, with streaming. People dig your content. People dig who you are, and that's why I express myself here. And I think this is the future. Dumbo, I don't want to be too long with it.
No, so I guess I'm gonna come from a standpoint of just reacting to the video and how it is, how it relates to what I think the business is these days. So everybody that is starting a business is either good or bad. They might be good, it might be bad. But what's the hardest thing to me personally is picking up that camera and recording every time you do something, right? Because it's just in my personal life, it's just something that I don't do. Just originally, I see a lot of people in restaurants taking pictures of the food, taking, when I go out and about, taking pictures of that. I'm just not used to videotaping my life. But when it comes to business, you have to these days because people love content and people spend most of their time not watching cable TV, watching Instagram and YouTube and stuff and things of that, and TikTok, things of that nature. And it's usually short clips that people are gravitating to because of algorithm, because of search, whatever the case may be. So it is very beneficial these days, whether you are good or bad, to videotape and catalog everything you doing up until you get to this certain point. I feel like when you get to a certain point, you can use AI a little more sparingly because you have already built that base up. But to me personally, she's 100% right, and y'all 100% right. But it's just so hard to catalog everything in a video when you coming up and you actually trying to build your business, right? Because building your business is tough on it in its own right. But then actually going and do that and then doing a replica of it to make a video is even more time and even more stress and even more, just everything. But I do agree with her with AI. You can't start out your business with AI. You got to go organic, and then eventually you can use AI once you have a big enough following, and you can just make little advertisements that people don't really need to know about your inner working because they already know it from prior videos. But I guess to answer the question, or to my final comment, building a business is tough. To me, it's even harder to catalog it with a video and put it on social media. But that's what you have to do.
Right.
Could I comment too? You don't have to record every single thing you eat, Dunbar. You can just post something else. You don't have to post everything. Because I think a lot of people actually think that. They're like, I got to catalog my entire life. Mm-hmm. But no, these guys with the roles that we're commenting on here, they had a very specific thing that they're doing here with that. Like I think we get in our own heads and we're like, well, I need to document this and I need to record this and I need to put this out there. And I think there's a balance there of we want a lot of good content, but it's got to be good content and worthwhile, right? Like,
right.
I don't
know. But in order to have,
like, you're not doing it, you're saying so.
Yeah,
I'm not either.
No. I understand, but in order to have good content, you have to have bad content too, and you can sift out the bad content. So I think that most people post more than they actually have on their phone. They pick the best of the best of what they have because they have so many of these type of videos that they can pick and choose which one are better. So you kind of do have to do it every day, and then you got to kind of sift out which ones you want to put here and there and everywhere. But that's my personal opinion.
Mark Cuban said that, and you reminded me two reasons why I put that clip in here. Mark Cuban said this: perfection is the enemy of profit. Right.
Mhm.
So I think what people want, she just said that. She said that at the beginning of the video. People don't want to see Beyonce. That's gone. That was 20, 30 years ago. People want to see Dunbar because he looks like my cousin. They want to see you in being you, not somebody else. They don't want to see the polished you. They want to see you. And like you said, he showed all his mistakes. It shows vulnerability, and people relate to that. You know, when you're
Right.
trying to be polished. Hold on,
Yeah, no.
one more. And I see like a lot of people trying to be almost too fake for the camera. And you know, they're trying to be too polished. They're trying to be too Walter Cronkite. You know, so it doesn't work nowadays. People want to see. Look at me. People want to see me. Like I'm not a movie star type guy, you know, but I'm just a regular guy that works hard and that gravitates. You know, that has gravity. It has a pulling effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, but I'm not saying pick the best one because they're the best one. I'm saying you have to have for the one take you're gonna post, you might have 3 different videos in that same take, you know, or you might cut it up. I'm not saying you do the best one. I'm not saying you craft it to where it has to be fake. What I'm saying is a lot of time into getting the one video every day.
That it was like that, but people want to hear how I talk naturally. I chop up words. I'm from Louisiana. I have a heavy accent. People want to hear that.
It's true, Dixon. I can't understand you half the time you talk.
Right. So, like, yeah, people want to hear that. People from, you know, I mean, so.
Well, like I said, that's just my opinion. I think that it's a lot more that goes into it than you know what we see.
Right. Can I throw out there too? It depends. I see both sides of this. Like it depends on what you're doing. Like with what we're doing right now, totally raw footage. Like we are who we are to the audience here that's watching this, and we appreciate having you here. However, there are those other videos that are very, very meticulously crafted with professional photography and masterful, you know, editing that's going on behind the scenes to create these incredible videos. There's a balance here. It depends on what you're going for. Like, I don't think it's necessarily one or the other. What are you trying to do with what you're trying to do? Are you trying to be live, raw, organic content to your followers? Or are you trying to be that, you know, perfection person that is presenting that kind of an element over there? And I also think it depends on the part of the country you're in, the type of industry that you're in. There's a lot of other things that might go into this too. Like, it's not just about, you know, like most of my videos are me walking my dogs in the park. It's edited. It's, you know, it's decent quality, I think, but it's not like professional. So is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. I think it depends on the audience, the content, the platform that you're posting on. There's so many things that go into this, right? I don't know. That's just my thought. But what do you guys think?
I think I looked at a couple of it. I think you're
when you say, I looked at a couple of your videos and pause. I'm like, oh God, he doesn't he doesn't like them. He doesn't like my videos.
Well, I think you're trying to be too polished. I think you're trying to be too. I think you need to relax a little bit. Like, just relax and be you. I think you know. I used to be the same way, try to be a perfectionist and stuff like that, and now I just let it roll. Like, you know, now there are things I need to work on. Yeah, sometimes enunciation, especially when I'm relaxed. You know, the enunciation relaxes as well. You know, but at the same time, I'm a public speaker. I used to teach. Yeah, you know, so somebody, you know,
I value that feedback, by the way, too. If anybody's watching and goes to my channel and says like, "Oh yeah, you know, that dude needs to chill up and relax."
Right. So
yeah,
if you relax and become natural, be more natural with it, I think you'll get more following and more engagement. I think people that's what people want to see. I think that's where we are. I think when Instagram first started, I think it was the pretty pics, and I think it comes in phases. I think people are all right. We're over that. We want to see raw and natural people that we gravitate towards.
Good point.
You know, I think that's where we're at right now in this point. Let's go to the next one. Real quick. Bam.
Fastest way to go broke as a business owner. I got 5 mistakes for y'all, so y'all listen up. The first mistake is being an absent owner. And what I mean is you're never really there. Your staff is going to get comfortable, waste is going to go up, depth is going to go up, and sales are going to go down, and you're not going to even know why. Mistake number 5 is the most important. Y'all be sure to stick around. Your second mistake is inventory control. What I mean by that is you're not counting your product. I know so many owners that don't count a damn thing in their store. Trust me when I say this, you want to count your product because your product is counting you out of your money. Third mistake is trash bookkeeping in the wrong CPA. Look, man, lazy books will bankrupt a good business. Numbers do not lie, but a bad CPA will hide the truth. It's all about your money. Mistake number 4 is not being disciplined. Discipline. If you're not disciplined, you're not going to make money. Discipline is doing the boring stuff when nobody is watching every single night. You have to do Mistake number 5, and again, this is the biggest one. This is the one that makes people always go broke on the low. Spending all that money that you're making before the bills and your employees are paid. That money is not yours. You get paid last. That's how real business owners survive. If you do not live by that, you're not going to make it very far. Let me know what mistakes I missed. This is the
I love that one.
I'll go ahead and jump on this first because I've done several business. I think the biggest thing is discipline, and that should be number 1. And that covers like 3 of them that he named, because discipline of being there. Discipline and not spending your money before you actually fulfill payroll. You get paid last. That was one of the most important things he said. And discipline as far as sticking to the same thing. That's another thing. People change all the time and try to change the business. Now, you have to have a continuity of how you do business, a culture. And then you got to implement that culture. Because if you're, all right, I'm halfway, I'm relaxed this week, and then next week I'm sell, because I got to make people you got to be, if you're amped all the time, you got to be consistent. So I think discipline is number 1. And then I agree with what he said as far as the CPA as well. Most people don't even keep records. And that includes us realtors and loan officers, 1099 loan officers. We don't keep records of things. We go on actual lunches with realtors, and where's your QuickBooks? I talked a lot of, where's your QuickBooks? I don't have one. So you got a receipt box. What is this, 1989? So we don't keep good records. If you're a 1099, you're a business owner as well. You're a contract worker, however, this is your business. So loan officers and realtors, even though you're a solopreneur most of the time, you still have to keep good records, because that'll bankrupt you as quick as possible, because a lot of people don't understand tax. A lot of stuff is tax deductible, but you got to keep your records. You got to maintain those records. And then the last thing, with the second thing that he said is as far as your product, we don't have too much product here, but yeah, people will steal. People will steal. You just have to cut down on it as much as possible. That's a constant. If you remember back in elementary where you had these science experiments, the hypothesis was the constant variable. The constant variable is death. People will steal. You just have to cut back on it as much as possible, no matter what you're in. So I'll go yield the floor from there. Whoever want to jump in, Dunbar.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those points that he made definitely, will either flatline your business or help it grow. I'm always, even when I was starting off in business and wasn't making anything, I had a good CPA. Because, other than them just doing the books at the end of the year, they can give you advice throughout the year that'll help you, maximize your total, it'll help you maximize and keep you out of trouble. Pretty much is what they'll do throughout the year. Consistency is key. I think that's what he was mentioning by discipline. That's what I consider discipline, being consistent. If you're going to be there, if you're going to be open 7 days a week, then be open 7 days a week for every week of the year. Don't take weeks off unless you have to, of course. You know, staying consistent is very, very, very either that it will be detrimental or it'll be beneficial to your business. If you are staying consistent with what you said that you're going to do, usually people will, trust you more, and you most likely will get more clients or customers or whoever targeting. And I think the last thing is definitely inventory. Me being owning a catering company, that's definitely something that will break the bank, because if you don't know what you have and you going out and you shopping for an event and you are shopping from a non-inventory standpoint, you're going to double buy, and double buying is it's not going to help you out at all as a business owner. So I mean, all those points are very valid.
Right.
I'll jump in. Yeah, exactly the same thing I was thinking too. The main thing that I'm focused on is the point of the discipline of just tracking all this stuff, tracking it. Like, it's not that hard to do. I mean, every time you get an expense or a receipt or anything, like, save it into a folder. Like, what I have for myself, by the way, is if this helps anybody, is like I have my documents and I've got 2025 expenses as of this recording, and I'm creating 2026 here shortly. But every single month, every time I have an expense, I put that receipt in there and I label it exactly what it is and the dollar amount of what it is too. That way, it's really easy to track. Like, I can go through and see, like, in my folder, in my documents folder, I can see, like, okay, I've got $238 here, $137 there. Like, I can see all of this in my documents folder, and it's right there for me to view. So when I go do my taxes, or I'm turning it in for expenses with my company, or, whatever else you're using them for, I can see exactly what it is and the dollar amount, the date, the timestamp, what it was. Like, make sure you're labeling this stuff very clearly. But that discipline of just doing that every single time you get an expense will help you in the long run save time, save money, and make sure that you're going to be successful in business. So that's what I took away. And your CPA will absolutely love you, by the way, if you do this for him or her. Make sure that you give them, here's all my expenses, beautifully labeled, nice and clean, exact dates, exact dollar amounts. Like, they're gonna be so happy to be working with you. So please do your CPA a favor for this next upcoming 2026 year, filing for 2025. Do that. But the discipline with the business is key. Absolutely.
Just FYI, the QuickBooks, it used to be $5. I don't know how much it is now, but QuickBooks have all that. They have where you could take a picture of the receipt and it scans it, and then you can upload it to the cloud, and then it automatically deducts. Also, you can link like your credit cards to it, and it automatically go into a file. And then what your CPA can do is they'll just ask you got your QuickBooks, and you can send it straight to them. That's the easiest way. It's like $5. I need to get back to. I used to do that, but I went away from it like this last year. But I need to get back in 2026, and that's why I put that clip in there. Thanks for reminding for people that doing their goals. Bookkeeping is a good goal because that can make or break you. And I want to add this note before I go to the next one. Don't forget, if your goal is to sell your business, it's all about the books. So if your bookkeeping is sloppy, you're never going to be able to sell your business.
Good point.
So
yeah.
All right, let's
and I wanted to make sure to mention, I do use a couple different apps. There are a few others out there on the market, Zen Business, Every. There's quite a few that do this kind of a thing. So just make sure whatever you're using, keep it consistent, because what I've found personally is I'll bounce. Like, I'll download one software and I'll start expensing stuff there, and then I'll get another software and be like, oh, this is good for my travel, so I'll do it this way, and it's getting a little convoluted for me. So I just, for what it's worth, I want to make sure everybody knows it's very helpful if you can keep it in one place, and I don't want to use this as a plug, but Credit Karma, formerly Mint.com, does actually at the end of the year go through, if you sync your accounts, they will total all your accounts, every possible expense and every category it's in, and then show you the only categories that they don't know what it is. And then you just tell it what it needs to be. And then they'll be like, okay, cool. And then there we go. Like there's $100,000 of expenses that I didn't even fully know I had because they just totaled it up for me. And there it is.
Right.
So I'm not trying to plug any specific vendor here.
Right.
I'm just saying if you don't have anything to do or an option for this, creditkarma.com, which is tied into TurboTax, by the way, full disclosure, Quicken, all that stuff. Like they all merged companies over time, can be a very helpful thing coming into 2026 just to get ahead of this and prepare for it.
Gotcha. Let's go into this next one here.
Awesome.
This one, now we're starting to point.
People should not be doing the burst strategy.
Why is that?
Because the burst strategy is an art. So now you bought a property hypothetically for $300,000, and the realtor that's supposed to be having your back told you, and the mortgage lender, don't worry, in about a year it'll be worth $400,000. You got a 2% interest rate, a 3% interest rate. You're barely able to afford it now. So now what you're gonna do? The burst strategy, right? Now your mortgage went up, your principal balance went up. What did you do with the difference? You're using it to go buy your next property, right? If you do that method or you use the HELOC method, what I like to call is that you have a phantom mortgage now. Why? Because you got the primary residence and now you got the money that you pulled out or you do the HELOC, there go your second mortgage because it got to be paid back, and now you used it to buy the next property. Now when you bought the next property with the same mindset that you approached the first property, now you over leverage with the third property. Most people should not be doing the burst.
All right. What do you think of that? Y'all agree? Disagree?
Since Dunbar went off camera for a sec.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect.
Right.
I'm going to say I think it depends. It always depends. When you're talking about interest rate and properties, you can't get so many people make the mistake of getting hyper specific about this is what I heard on social media, or this is what I read online, and then this is what I'm going to do. And that's not exactly how it goes. Like it depends on your circumstances. The interest rate being lower on the first mortgage is extremely important to understand versus a higher rate, of course. The second mortgage loan, keep in mind, is going to be usually following the prime rate on a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan. You're going to be looking at the prime rate and then a margin on top of that. So you're probably looking at like 7% plus most lenders nowadays. And you can go search this, by the way. What is prime rate today? Like, so banks set prime rate and then they add a margin on top of that. But whatever that is, that's the interest rate on the HELOC, which is probably higher than that in this video. In his point, the 2, 3, 4% that he got.
Right.
So there's a balancing act here of, do you take that home equity line of credit and go very, very high on interest rate? Yes, interest only payments. But do you take that? Or do you just flip the property? Like get rid of it. Because the BRRRR method, the whole point of the BRRRR method is buy, rehab, refinance, hold that property and rent it out. But if that math doesn't make sense, then it doesn't make sense. Like you can't go into every single strategy thinking I'm going to use the BRRRR method and that's it. That might be the method, but that might not be the method. And it depends on the property and the timing and your circumstances. Like every single other loan, it's like a fingerprint. It's unique to you. So don't go in necessarily with the thought process of this is the plan. Go in with a plan, but be ready to pivot and have a really good realtor and a good mortgage professional guiding you on this process to make sure that you're going to make the right decision when it's time for that property. So
Right.
that's my thought on the thought process. But I'll let
Right.
you guys take it from here.
I think he started aligning with mine toward the end. I think he was mostly commenting on the mind frame and the frame that you're going into these particular deals. So he said, if you go into it with the same mind frame, that's when you're going to get into the pickle. So I think, like you alluded to, hey, you can have a plan, but depends on the property. You might have to pivot and do something else. So be ready. Unless you want to hold out and then only wait for stuff that fits inside of this box.
Right.
So either way, it's a strategy. But I think what most people, investors, especially new investors, they got something in mind. And say, like you said, they heard it through social media, and they got this idea in their head, and they want to stick to it, and they make mistakes because I want to stick to this, and they pick the property, all right, and think everything's going to fit into the same category, and it's not. You got to know what type of property, what type of market that you're in, and if this will be the best for optimizing my money. So a lot of people get asphyxiated, and then they don't look at the next step. And then, like you said, you got a phantom mortgage now. You're over leveraged at that point, and that's when you get into. I see, several people that I helped before where now you got to sell off these properties because you can't afford them. And like you said, you couldn't afford the first one.
Yep.
Exactly. So you have to you got to know yourself, be honest with yourself, know your budget. You can't keep up with the Joneses on this because the Jones might have a lot more money than you have, and they might have a lot more tolerance, a bigger appetite than you have for risk. So you can't go by what you see. You got to be honest with yourself and your situation. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, David, the last thing you said is what I'm gonna start off with. Have good representation and good folks who know the market, right?
Yes.
A lot of investors think they know it all, and it's one of those things to where you just don't, because nobody does. I mean, even the professionals don't. We'll be the first to tell you. So I think that when it comes down to the Burr method, first off, you're gonna want to do all your homework, and people don't or can't do homework efficiently without having somebody that can pull accurate comps, give a forecast of interest rates, and stuff like that. So you got to do the upfront homework, and a lot of people don't want to do that, especially if they are in a position where they think they know it all, and they've heard it from their uncle or somebody or in social media or whatever, and it worked for them. They feel like, oh, my uncle is, if he can do it, I can do it. But you don't know the ins and outs and the X's and O's of what, how your uncle came to make that method successful. But yeah, I think I would have to just double back. Yeah, having good representation, right? Because if you're going to do a Burr, you're going to want to know what the rents are going. Are they steady? Are they going up? Or the interest rates? Are they just the forecast? Nobody really knows, right? Are they going to go up in this time frame that I'm going to get in this year lease or 18-month lease? Yeah, just doing your homework. A lot of people don't do the upfront homework, especially if they are beginning or if they are one of those folks who think they know it all. So I think just having good representation will get you over the hump.
Could I add to this just to make sure if anybody here is listening, the Burr method, in case you've never heard of this before, buy, rehab the property, then rent it out, refinance it, because usually you're using your own money or commercial lending or higher interest loans. You're going to finance that in a totally different way. Mm-hmm. So you're going to refinance it into something that is more easily, accessible and better terms, and then repeat. Do it again on the next one. So that's the Burr method. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. But it depends on whether or not we just discussed, does it make sense for you in your market?
Right. I do want to add one more thing. I'm sorry. So another thing outside of having a good real estate agent, broker, or a good loan officer is having the folks that could rehab the home.
Right.
That's gonna pretty much make or break
Big
your
deal.
margins right there.
Big
'Cause
deal.
if they start on it and they can't finish it, then so you got to have three folks. For the burn method, what you just explained, you got to have very dedicated contractors who are diligent and who get work done. You have to have somebody who knows the market, a real estate agent from that standpoint. You got to know somebody who knows the market from a mortgage standpoint to get everything in order to make everything work for you in this case. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Good point.
Ego is the quickest way to go broke. You know, I think the out of control ego pushes people away. You feel that you're a know-it-all and nobody knows it all, you know, so you don't know what you don't know, and it could cost you a lot of money. You know, I would say the last thing before I go to the next one is also seek mentorship. You know, I would say get a mentor that's have a proven track record and pay him some money or get in his hip pocket to learn before you try to do this. This isn't for the faint of heart. You know, you can lose your shirt. You know,
Yes. To your point, could I just add,
right.
if anybody watching this in your local market, there are, if you go on to Facebook or any other like community social media thing, like just type in like, you know, investment groups near me, and you can find other people, like start connecting with your community. Like you can find other people that do the same kind of thing, that have experience with it, and also those that don't. So like there's a balance there. But go to like their local meetings, go to the local chapter, the local events, like talk to these people, get to know them. If you find the right person that can guide you and help you and take you to the moon essentially, and like walk you through it for the strategy, I mean, like you just won the lottery right there. And this has happened. I've seen many clients over my 20-year career. Like I've seen clients do this where they're like, yeah, I met so-and-so and they introduced me to so-and-so and they introduced me to so-and-so. And then I found this property and I did this like 7 times. And then I get a call from them 10 years later. And it's like, yeah, so I got like 8, actually last week, 8 properties that this guy apparently grabbed since I last talked to him.
Right. And he didn't use you for a loan officer?
I wasn't. No, he did this all commercial, like commercial lending.
Gotcha.
Like didn't even need me, but now he does. So he's like, hey, so I need you for this next one. But just so you know, I did this, this, and this. I listened to your advice. I did this with the realtors. And now I've got 8 properties.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, like, congratulations, buddy. Like that's amazing. Not many people can say that they've done that.
Yep, that is the key to wealth right there. I think real estate is one of the most I would say staunch rock solid ways to get rich and wealthy. In fact, that's a good segue to our next clip. I never knew this, but let's go. It's a different way to look at things. Let's check it out.
Dollar General makes more money from real estate than actually selling products. While you think they're just a discount store, they're running one of the smartest wealth extraction schemes in America. They use algorithms to target the poorest rural communities, buying land for around $50,000 per acre in food deserts where people have zero shopping alternatives. Their 18,000 stores sit on land worth $40 billion that they originally bought for just $8 billion over 2 decades. That's 5 times their investment in pure land appreciation. But here's the genius part. Each store is strategically designed to kill local grocery stores and pharmacies. Once the competition dies, property values triple because Dollar General becomes the only game in town. Then they lease their own properties back to themselves through shell companies, creating additional rental income streams. They're not a retailer at all. Dollar General is a real estate empire disguised as a discount store, systematically colonizing America's poorest communities. The wealthy don't just sell products, they own the ground beneath your feet. Did you know
I'll take a crack at this one first. Man, I forgot the movie, but I think I'm gonna Google it while I'm talking. So I think
McDonald's movie.
The McDonald's. It's a McDonald's movie.
Yeah,
it's the movie. Yeah. So
Ray Kroc, like how he took over the franchise and
I think so. I think so. I'll look it up by the time we get out of this segment. But yeah, so that is the truth. I think a couple weeks ago, it was an Atlanta video that we had, and they were asking about wealthy people in Atlanta, and none of the folks in Atlanta really own the real estate in Atlanta. So I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where I've never heard of that from Dollar General, but I have heard of that from McDonald's, and it makes perfect sense. I have never seen a Dollar General go out of business and have to sell their store. I've seen Family Dollar. I've seen a couple of different other stores that has went out, but I've never seen a Dollar General go out of business. I didn't know they sell drugs like that. I guess like just from like a acetaminophen, Tylenol standpoint. But yeah, I mean, I guess I can't really speak too much, but I have heard of McDonald's in the same aspect of just being a real estate mogul as opposed to selling the products.
Yeah, the Founder, I think, is the name of the movie.
Yeah.
Founder. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right. Just to piggyback what Dunbar said, and the reason why I put this in here as well, not just the ties to real estate, but I wanted to bring out the point, like Larry Klecker always said, he's one of the guys that recruited me into Nexa.
Larry Klecker, by the way, is our team lead, awesome guy that we love to death.
Right. He said that we're not loan officers, we're lead generators. And how that ties to this is that a lot of your motives, it could be guised as something else. Even though, yes, there are an officer aspect to it, but our whole thing is to get as many leads in as possible. Just like this, with my goal is not to be a streamer. My goal is to be a brand. So just because your guys as this, it could be something else. So just like not just McDonald's, not just Dollar General, but just like Shark Tank. Shark Tank is not a VC. Shark Tank is a marketing company. It helps these businesses get marketed and excel for the footprint. So it's sometimes you might be labeled as this, but behind the scenes you're really this. Is the point, is what I'm saying. And so sometimes, and you got to get it to diversification in order to hit different avenues. Does that make sense? So
absolutely.
That's this, and it ties to this. We're doing this to be those lead generators.
Yes. I want to point out as well, there was a study done, and it's projected, in anybody watching this can Google search this as well. By 2030, we're talking 4 years from now, Wall Street will own 40% of all homes in America. 40%.
It's crazy.
That's the projection. Like they're already like getting close, but that's the projection because they're on such a great track record. Part of the reason why they're doing this is because of creating fear in the economy, of course, of holding people on the sidelines so they can go buy up these properties, which is smart for them. But I just want to point out, like that's the investment opportunity that we have here, or that they have, is 40% of the properties being owned by them. So with all of this understanding, buy a house now if you can is kind of like the basic like foundation 101 elementary thought process. If you can buy a house, do it. If you can't, it's okay, but do it as fast as you can.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got one, just one, because I was talking to a client today, and she wants to rent, and we're gonna get her a rental right now, and that's fine. That's totally fine. She asked me, is it a good time to buy? And I told her this. I said, if you can buy, then buy. If you have everything that a mortgage or a bank will ask for to buy, then buy. I always advertise that to my renters, and I've only converted a couple of them, right? But I think owning a house and ownership is a mentality as opposed to a commodity, right? You have to really want it to have it, right? But yeah, no, I totally agree with what you said, David. If you can buy, then it's never a great time to buy. It's never a great time. It's never a worse time. It's if you can. So I mean, that's what I always tell my clients. But yeah, I'm just piggybacking off what you said. Sorry.
Right, and everybody thinks that renting or leasing a property is easier than a mortgage, which nowadays that's not the case. It's just as tedious as a credit check, and they're not covered by a lot of the protection that you are covered by getting a mortgage. So it's up to the actual owner. So if they don't like you, they can just say,
Right.
no, I'm just renting it to you. You know,
Right.
as a mortgage, if you're trying to buy a house, you're protected. You know, so people don't realize that. So, and don't forget this renting. I say this all the time on the podcast: is that renting is 100% interest. So, you know, we're waiting on the interest rates to drop, but you know, everything that you're spending is going out of the door when you're renting. So, and again, in certain situations, yes, I do agree that there's a time for to lease. If you don't plan on staying at a particular area, you're new to the area, you're trying to figure it out before you commit. I get all of that stuff. However, I don't get the long. I'm gonna rent for a few years and then figure it out. By that time, you 30, 40,000. It's going bye-bye. That could have been towards your last name. I don't get that part.
It could make more sense to rent in some cases.
For long term?
But long term, that's my point.
Right.
Long term, you're almost always going to come out better owning.
Right,
so even if the interest rate is higher, because remember, you can, we have this stupid saying in our industry, right? Like, date the rate and marry the house.
Correct.
We've had this stupid thing going around for years now because rates have been going up. So we had to find a way to, market this concept to everybody else too, right? So marry the house, date the rate. Well, thankfully, many people that bought a home just 3, 4, 5 years ago are seeing the benefits of the equity increases already. And they're already being able to take advantage of lower rates and refinancing. I've had multiple clients we've refinanced just in the last few months that we've been able to lower their payments by $200, $300, $400 a month, but they bought at the right time, so all that equity is paying off for them. A lot of people are still waiting, and the home prices, thankfully, are not skyrocketing. Like, it's not like if you don't buy today, you're gonna, the same home is gonna be like 50,000 more tomorrow, because that's what we actually were seeing in the COVID period.
Right.
That's what we were seeing is if you don't buy now, that same house is gonna go for 50 grand in like 3 months, and it did. Like it clockwork across the country. Now it's stable. So we've got the stable market where you have the opportunity where rates are good, as of this timestamp of the video, in this low sixes on average, but you can refinance out of them very quickly as well if the rates drop in the coming months. We don't know if they will, but either way, you can build the equity and create that equity position in the property if you buy today. So anyways, that's my thought.
Right. I mean, like I said, there's all kind of ways to get in. I think, there's nothing that you could say that could convince me to rent for 5 years, especially in an apartment. I don't get it. And then I want to go ahead and make another stamp. And before I go to this, because we got two more. I don't get the stigma. A lot of people will get apartments, right? But there's all these tiny homes, manufactured homes, get land and stuff like that. I'm looking around me, and Dunbar knows, because he knows I just got an acre and I got a manufactured home. And then the how I did it, I actually sold my home, and then I took the equity. Now I own my house free and clear, and I own the land. Now I went from paying, I was in the highest tax district in our area, Katy, because it has the best schools, right? So I'm paying out $9,000 a year in taxes, property taxes. I'm an empty nester, so I don't have any kids, right? So now I'm paying $120.
That's amazing.
A year.
Yeah.
And right. So, and I got way more space for my dogs and all this stuff.
Yep.
So, but it's just the optics. It's not a plan.
You put the financing tied to your primary residence instead of the financing tied to your investment property, if you want to think of it that way.
Right.
And that's what gave you the better financing option and better payment structure, better savings. Everything's better.
My particular situation, I was in my house for a decade, for 10 years. So, but I double paid. So I was down to my last $60,000. I originally paid $180. I financed roughly like $160. I paid like $180. Now the property is worth $320. So it damn near doubled, in 10 years. So I pulled all that out and I paid for everything cash. And I still had stuff left over. So now, if I wanted, it was smart because I only paid $55 for the land, and then I paid $120 for the house. So, but when I put the house on it now, the is worth $290, $295, and I think I just had a neighbor his went under for which is mine is brand new. I have a brand new house. His is like 10 years old. His is going for $325. He just listed this for $325. So. Now I got another double by putting this land with the home on top of it. But it's not the prettiest thing. It's not the big planned development. My point is we'll rent these things to stay in this luxury apartment and not own anything. And we could get, for a fraction of the cost, we could get a land, we could get a home. Some of these manufactured homes are looking just as good. Dunsbar been in my home. You can't tell. Like damn there, they make the stigma should be gone, but there's better decisions in ownership. Go ahead.
I just have one thing, and this I mentioned earlier. So what I learned or what I've saw in my years of being a real estate agent, it's all about knowing that you can. So, and this is what I've noticed: if your parents owned a house, then you know that you can own a house. Right. If your parents has never owned a house and always rented, you think that's you just have in your mind that that's how you live, right? So I mean, that's why I say ownership is a mind state as opposed to anything.
Right. I definitely agree with that. It's learned behavior. So let's go ahead. We got 2 more clips, so let's go ahead. I know it's we're right at an hour right now, so let's go ahead and run in.
I'm a real estate investor. I pretty much buy, rehab, rent, and repeat.
And how much money do you make per year doing this?
$5 million.
And how many properties do you currently own?
Here in Memphis, 500 plus.
And how long have you been doing this for? How many years?
Since 2004.
And what type of real estate do you invest in exactly?
Here, our main focus is in Section 8.
And what is Section 8 for those that don't know?
So Section 8 is a guaranteed program backed by U.S. dollars, my taxpayer dollars. That gets you a higher rent, gives you a more secure tenant, and a longer lease, and pretty much sum it up.
Now, what do you love most about investing in this type of real estate compared to others?
Just the guaranteed. So I like the fact that there's a lot of people looking for Section 8. I like the fact that I get a higher rent, and I like the fact that they stay forever.
Now, what are the numbers on the cost breakdown? How much money do you make per house, and how much do these houses cost?
Yeah, every house is different. This one behind me, we picked it up for $30,000. We'll put about $70,000 into it. When it's all done, it'll be worth $250,000. I'll do what's called a cash out refi on it and make about $50,000 tax free.
Well, now isn't investing in Section 8 kind of risky or not as profitable?
No, I like this way better because, like I said, I'm guaranteed my check. You have retail tenants that run and escape, makes it a lot harder, but this is a lot easier in the long run.
Wow. Now, how does the average person get their first Section 8 property? What are all the things they need to do?
Yeah, there's 100 ways to find a Section 8. We actually develop a app called Real Estate that makes the whole process easier. Where AI, you can just ask a question like what market you're in, it can find the perfect property for you.
And will it break down all the numbers you need to know?
Yeah, it breaks down everything. The cash flow, what the insurance is going to be, like the vacancy rates. Everything is built out by AI, so there's no losses. I'm a real estate.
I want to break that down just a little bit slower. What he said as far as that property in back of him. He said he spent $30,000 to buy, $70,000 in the rehab, It's going to be worth 250. That's the ARV, right? And he said he's going to do a cash out refi. So that's going to net him about 50 grand in cash flow, right? Then he's going to do the Bird method, right? So he's going to put a renter in there, and that's going to pay his note. I think that's what people missed. Like, so the tenant is going to actually pay the mortgage, so he's not actually going to pay that, and he's going to cash flow, and he got 50,000 cash that's tax free.
Yep.
Does that make sense? So
I was trying to follow the math on that too.
Right.
Hold on. I'm like, wait, this is this,
Right.
and it was moving fast. Yeah, I'm trying to follow the math at the same time.
Right. So that's why I wanted to slow it down, break it down, so people understand what's going on. So, but either way, that's probably because he has his own cash. But either way, you could possibly do, if you have no cash, that would be a dream scenario. I could find a house for 30,000 in our area. I know Memphis, Tennessee is a little bit rough, but you know that's not going to be in Houston. But yeah, I'm not sure about Minnesota, but if we can find something 30 grand, that'd be a dream. But anyway, let's follow the numbers that he has. Yeah, you know, but I have lenders that'll go up to 70% of the ARV. That's up to 250. So they'll lend you up to 175. So that damn near will be 100% finance deal. Are you following me?
Kind of. I'll jump in and say, like, so here's the thing about commercial lenders or lenders that work in that kind of like semi-residential commercial space. Like, it's kind of a hybrid version, honestly. Like, because there's residential lending, there's commercial lending, and this doesn't really fall into either one. It's kind of a hybrid.
It's not commercial because there's no stores attached. That's strictly residential.
Right, exactly. But it's treated kind of like commercial, even though it's residential, and it doesn't follow those guidelines. So like it's this like hybrid concept, right? Like it's this meeting of the minds or middle point. And this is kind of the Wild West of lending still, of who does what and how and when and what they like. And a lot of times this comes down to your experience. Do you have one deal under your belt or 50 deals under your belt? Because if you've got 50 deals under your belt and you can show that, they'll give you the money all day long. 100%. You got $0 out of pocket. But if you have first deal you want to try to get in, you might need 40% down to get in, to start the relationship with the lender. Because honestly, that's kind of how it works. Is it's a relationship. You have to build this over time. So from experience, and keep in mind here at Nexa, we have 288 lenders just in residential alone.
Right.
But then we have like 1,000 other lenders in the commercial space. And every single one of them is different in how they treat this exact scenario. So it's a very difficult thing to speak to, of like, is this, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? It depends. It depends on you. Like all loans, it's like a fingerprint unique to you, but it's especially that way when it comes to this kind of property or this kind of deal. Like you need to really show your worth beforehand before most commercial lenders will touch you.
Well, don't forget, this kind of my area. So I've kind of went away from, well, I still do first time home buyers and stuff like that. But the last 2 to 3 years, even though I took 2025 off for the most part, I deal with investors and stuff like that. And through Nexa, we have lenders that it's in our line right now that will lend a first time. They look at the property. If the property makes sense, then they will. And if you could get an actual contractor that's on their list, they will lend you the money.
Right.
Because they're looking at the property. Now it will be a 24-month or a 12-month IO loan, which is interest only for those that don't know. So you got 12 months, to actually do this and get it rehabbed and sell it. And then from there, you got a balloon payment, which is going to be due at the end. So you can either refi and pay the whole thing out and stretch it to a 30-year perm, or you could sell it by the end of that 12 months. That's how I usually work. Now, I got lenders that's what next, and that'll give you, besides the closing costs and your, things like that, they find a deal like this, they'll give you the whole thing. They don't care, because the thing is, they're looking at the property. Now, it might be different in Minnesota, because Texas is one of those states that I think it's Texas, California, that they'll take chances because of, I guess, or homestead state, something to the effect. But there's only certain states that they'll lend like this. We got what's called hard money lending.
Right, and here in Minnesota, it's weird. There's certain lenders that will lend here, and others that will not, for whatever reason. But you're exactly right on. It depends on you. But I tell every single client asking me about commercial, it depends more on the property than it does about you.
Right.
Like,
and
it depends on the cash flow, the opportunity, what your experience is, and how this whole thing is going to go.
Right. And just FYI, I get what you're saying as far as commercial, because that's what Cordis sometimes says, because it's creating commerce. But this is technically still residential because it's in a residential area.
True.
Now, commercial, we do have a commercial division that does strip malls, that does churches, that does stores, whatever. That's something separate. So I don't want people to get confused. You could do multifamily. Usually it constitutes commercial when you're 5 units or more. That's what constitutes commercial, like apartment buildings, stuff like that. That kind of, but 1 to 4 units, that's still in the residential. Yeah. That's
5 or more units is commercial. 4 units or less is residential.
Right. And then,
typically speaking.
Right. And that looked like a single unit right there behind them, especially for 30 grand, I would imagine. But for me personally, how I would do it, 30 grand I paid for that, the land is worth, I would demolish that and I would build a multifamily on there. I'll put a 4-plex on there. That way I could get quadruple the rent. I would get rid of that footprint. And then we got lenders that'll do that as well. In fact, that's what you want, because the more doors, the more dollars. So I would demolish that whole thing, build it. I would put, instead of putting 70 grand, I'll put 120, 130 into it and make it multiple doors. And then maybe build up. This depends on the zoning. Again, I got to look at everything, but you want to build up. I think they're not making more land, but that's why everybody's building up, especially in Houston. So that's my sense. Dunbar, you want to comment on it before we go to the next?
Just quickly. So I'm getting my license soon, but I'm not a loan officer. But wouldn't this just be a residential loan where they would use the cost approach to not comp, but to appraise the deal? Wouldn't this be just like using the cost approach?
You can. There's 3 different types of loan that you can use. You can use the traditional type, what you're talking about. You can do a DSCR loan. Also, you can do hard money loan as well. So and the 4th would be private money. We have that as well.
Technically speaking, there's also like the 4th of anything and everything outside of that, of commercial, whatever else somebody might want to give you the money for.
Right. Private. Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I mean, shit. I think so. I really have. Y'all already beat the horse to death. So I can't really do. But didn't we do one of these with one of our? Didn't we work one of these out, Dixon? When we did a renovation. We did
one of these a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We did one of these. Yeah, we sure did. Yeah, I forgot about it.
We did one of these together, and then like I said, as far as the fast goes, y'all got all that. And then man, I wish I can find a $30,000 piece of property.
Right, exactly. I did have one for $39,000 in Port Arthur, but nobody wanted to buy it. I had a wholesaler deal for it. But nobody wanted to touch it in my area because it's too far out. Nobody had any crews out there. And this for David, he's probably Port Arthur is about, what do you say, 1.5 hours away from us, maybe 2.
Yeah, From
So-
where I'm at, for sure.
But that was the cheapest house that I've ever found. I know, like I said, we're talking investor stuff, but let's go into these last two things with and we'll get to let's get out of here. I don't want to keep y'all all night because I do got to hop up in the morning early. So let's go and run these last two, and then
crisis in construction and the trades is way worse than you think it is. Want proof? Well, the United States government is actually declaring it a national security risk. Take a look at this.
And by the way, if y'all didn't know, but most plumbers and electricians who then go on to own their own businesses make more than most doctors and lawyers today. It's actually becoming a national security issue because the DoD, Department of Defense, is looking for 600,000 electricians and welders in the next 6 years. And they don't exist. And that is just to maintain our military equipment, not to build new.
So think about that. We might not have enough men and women in the construction and trades to support our existing military and governmental infrastructure, let alone the $1.3 trillion in infrastructure projects that have already been committed to. If you're ever thinking about getting into construction, now is the time. The opportunities are huge, the barriers are much lower than they used to be, and the money is there to be had. And with 10,000 people retiring every single day, construction and the trades need you now more than ever. If you're interested in getting involved and hearing about other opportunities, stick with us. Check out that link in the bottom.
Everybody got to do their shameless plugs. Shameless plugs. I'll go and react to that. And you kind of can see the theme that I'm going. This is one of the last shows of this year. So a lot of people are thinking about their goals for 2026. I get a lot of calls because I got a lot of mentees, right? And they're asking me about the mortgage business or what should I go into next. Man, get you a trade. They got a shortage on electricians, plumbers, stuff that work with your hands. A lot of, HVAC. That's the next gold rush. You work, you get, first of all, there's going to be a silver tsunami. So the boomers are going to retire. They say how many say 10,000, every month that's retiring or was it annual? How many?
I said every day.
You said every day? 10,000 people retiring every day?
If I'm not mistaken.
But
I didn't catch the stat exactly of when it occurs, but yeah, it's crazy the amount of people retiring.
Right. So boomers are getting to retirement age, right? Gen X, I'm 20 years out, right? But for those that's in Gen Z and that's in the millennials, if you're thinking about a career change for 2026, I would say this is something that you could apprentice for 2 or 3 years. You could then learn the business, buy out one of the boomers and take his existing book of business, and you could make, like she said, more than doctors and lawyers, because this is something that's always going to be there until robots come, which I think we're safe for the next 20, 30 years before robots can walk the street freely. And, but you're going to need somebody to program the robots, right? But anyway, working with your hands, I know it's not attractive, but I think it's going to be a lot of money in those skilled jobs. So if you're looking for a career change, I would think look into that. Go ahead. I'll yield the floor.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you might not know this, but before coming into the mortgage industry, I was actually in the construction industry in flooring. And my dad had a really good operation doing that. He was very successful, had a lot of good clients, good partners. But it's funny, like there were very, very few people that did a good job in this space as part of how we got our jobs. And this was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Now, I mean, like everybody is trying to figure out like what's the easiest path to make an income. And I mean, thankfully, I jumped into mortgage lending, so I'm not on my knees kicking carpet around. But at the same time, I'm going to argue if you want to make $100,000 a year plus, join a union. Join a local union in construction, whatever it is that can help guide you, support you in the apprenticeship program that they offer, because it's usually a 4-year program and it's on the job training, but they'll literally for free teach you the whole thing and you can make $100,000 a year without going into $100,000 of student loan debt.
Right.
That's the big piece of this, right? Like you avoid student loan debt by getting into a trade that allows you to make money and support your family for something that will benefit you for all of life.
Right.
You're never going to be like, oh, I wish I didn't learn how to build cabinets. Like that's always going to serve you in some way, shape, or form.
I definitely agree. I think this is a deeper conversation, and I'm gonna let Dumbo react as well. I think it's a deeper conversation. I think people are starting to realize, that college didn't pay off. I think I often talk about this on the podcast. We automatically thought we were supposed to go to college. It was like 13th grade, right? And we didn't give it much thought. And I'm looking at other people like, that I've helped with loans and they have zero student loan debt. And they went straight into either the family business or got a trade and they're $100,000 plus in their young 20s because they 2 to 3 years to learn the business. Now they're 22, 23. Like you said, they join. We don't have many unions out here in Texas, but they join the union. Now they're young 20s and already making $100,000 and they got 40 years to work and build business. They can go in their own business. You got your whole life ahead of you now. By the time, as opposed to the opposite way, we're 21. Now I got 6 figures worth of debt, and we're trying to find a job at that point. And the education doesn't match because a lot of times we got BS degrees. Let's be honest.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, sociology degree, a mass communication degree, Afro studies degree.
Yeah.
Like what?
Come on.
Double major in marketing or whatever it is. Like
Right,
okay,
right.
What does that do for you?
Yeah, how does that translate to dollars? My aunt, she graduated from Nicholls State, and she searched for a job for years before she got hired in her field. And she finally she majored in some kind of nutritional something, and she finally got on as the school nutritionist. But even that still didn't pay the bills. So my thing is, look at these jobs that's needed jobs, these skilled jobs.
Right.
Yeah, I yield the floor. My bad, Dumber.
Yeah, no problem. So it was on Instagram now. So I mean, I take it with a grain of salt, but I did see this year that the new millionaires or barbers, electricians, plumbers, service, people that can offer service and whether they're good at it or not, they're the new millionaires. So I did see that this year. So that is one thing. And I saw that was November 18th. So I don't know, it had a year, but I'm assuming that it was this year. So yeah, this year has bloomed for service folks as far as construction, plumbing, electrician, even barbers. Those are the new millionaires. That's first off. Second off, it's only one degree that I've seen personally that you can do a 4 or 5 year degree and you come out and make bank. Engineers. That's the only degree that I've seen that somebody get a bachelor's or a master's in and then come out making 100 and something plus. That's the only one. Of course, doctors and lawyers, that's expensive. That's 10, 12 years. But the only degree that I've seen that you can do 4, 5, 6 years and come out and buy you a house in a couple of years are engineers. So, but nobody. That's hard. that's not for the faint of heart. That's not for the faint of heart. But yeah, like I said, as far as degrees goes, yeah, I haven't seen anybody but engineers come out and be able to really just relax and do with their degree, what they got the degree in.
Right. I think a lot of people are starting to kind of wake up, so to speak, and starting to pivot and instead of accruing this, tremendous debt, and college debt, they're starting to get the get into HVAC or get into plumbing, starting to work with the hands. I think we went away with that. We did away with it because of the prestige. Everybody wanted the college graduate, and everybody wanted to, I guess, experience it, but it hadn't paid off. This is a generation that it hadn't paid off. Last one, this is a motivation. This is the shortest one. So motivational. Well, my favorite quarterback of all times. I think he's the GOAT. I mean, I no disrespect to Tom Brady, but this is my quarterback, Drew Brees, right here.
Coach used to tell me, as long as you are green, you will continue to grow. As soon as you are ripe, you will soon be rotten. In other words, you are always thinking about how you can improve. Your constant skill development, right? Like, what more can I learn, right? Whether it's in the realm of exactly what I'm doing or just something that might help me with something down the road that, it's just another skill set, right? I just want to develop another skill set that can help, right? One of my college coaches used to tell me.
And like I said, this is the perfect way to end off the year. I want to say thank you to everybody, our regular watchers of our stream, and I want to hope y'all have a blessed new year and a successful 2026. I want to take that spirit, so to speak, into 2026 and learning a new skill and growing, and get too big for the pot that you're in now, where you got to be planted to the ground and get too big for the ground and keep growing. I think if you look at a theme, if you're too much of a know-it-all, that's when you stop growing. So never be afraid to learn something new, and always be eager to develop new skills, because you never know when you can use those and when it could pay off. And so that's my final thought for the year. Y'all want to add to that before we get out of here?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, you always want to diversify, everything, your portfolio, your skills, everything. You want to be diverse. You want to be the jack of all trades. You want to be able to have expertise in everything that you can think of having expertise in. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I just think, in general, we all like to think that we know a lot, whoever we are, but we all have room to grow. There's a lot of opportunity there for growth and research and things that we can do to support each other. But the way you look at it, the lens that you're viewing this through is important. Like, as an example, in our world of mortgage and real estate that we're in, a lot of people think that they already know, like, oh yeah, I already know as a client, like I already know how this works. You guys talked about this Burr method thing, right? Like, I know how this works. Or a realtor thinks, I know how this works because I did it this way last time. And a mortgage person knows, well, this is how I did it last time as well. And this is how the program works. But there's a lot of programs, strategies, ways to approach this that most people aren't even aware of. And if you analyze this and get out of your comfort zone, your box that you're in, and you start exploring this, you realize there's a lot of opportunity here to be able to identify programs, options, strategies that will help you save tremendous amounts of money if we're talking about this space alone, not to mention personal side of relationships, marriage, children, all these other things as well. Like, there's a lot of things we can grow in. If you're stagnant in your mind of like, I already know it, I got it, I'm good. No, don't, I got it. Then you're never going to grow. So right. I agree completely. Like, we have to view it that way. Otherwise, you're going to fail. I don't know where you're going to fail, but you're going to fail somewhere.
Yep, like Drew Brees just said, as long as you remain green, you could grow. You get too ripe, that's when you're about to die.
I think I'm not sure, David. Have you played any sports or any sports at all? But I remember my coach saying that he would only talk or put effort into people that are coachable, right? And being coachable is the same thing that we're talking about here. Being able to take what somebody has given you, or what what you need to improve in, and actually being able to humble yourself and improve in those in that fashion.
Well, funny enough, Dunbar, I didn't play sports growing up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you count basketball like in my driveway. Like, does that count?
Right.
Yeah. In this case, yes.
I played every day for 2 to 3 hours a day for years in my driveway. I was unbeatable on my driveway. Put me anywhere else, I couldn't hit a basket for my life because the hoop was different.
Right.
I couldn't hit it from the flat court, but I could hit it from the slanted driveway in my driveway.
Right.
So, but that said, what was I going to say with this? When it comes to the last thing you just said.
Being coachable.
Thank you. That's the single one thing that I tell every single client. Like, if there's any quality I'm looking for in any client, like, how do I define a client? A client for me, a good client would be coachable. That's it. Nothing else. Because if you have the worst credit score in the world, no down payment, no idea what you're doing, but you follow the advice and let me coach you, we can work magic. Like, it won't be that long. You'll get into that house. You'll find the solution. Coachability is key. But if you're not coachable and you think you know it all already because you read it on the internet, or your realtor told you this, or your other loan officer told you this, well, we're going to have a problem right away. We're never going to get you into the house because you're not looking at this through the lens of coachability. You're looking at this through the lens of, I demand my entitlement of what I want for the house. So I mean, I'm just saying, coachability is huge.
Yeah,
for me.
not for sure.
Right. I mean, I think that's one of the keys to life. I think I believe in the old cliche, men sharpen men like steel sharpen steel. I think that if you're able to take constructive criticism, you're able to take in a mentor and listen to what he say, or take a coach. I think they've been our age. We've never been theirs. So you could, even if you take it, with a grain of salt, just taking bits and pieces of other people's experiences and taking them and letting that catapult you to making better decisions. I think is key. I think, when you think that you got it all yourself, I think you're going to make a lot of costly mistakes. And it's
be humble enough to let everybody else help you.
Right. And that's just what it is. That's why we're communal beings. I can learn from your experience. And with that being said, it's a good Happy New Year's to everybody. I'd like to thank y'all again. I know it's been an hour and a half, so we shortened the shows, make them a little bit more potent, and hopefully we get this going for next year. So we're going to see y'all in 2026. I think it's going to be the 5th, right? The 5th is the next show, right? So that'll be the first of this year. So we'll go from there, man. I definitely appreciate y'all. Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year. Peace and blessings.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks. We're going to end.